Good afternoon, parents. Another week of parenting during a pandemic. We just wanted to thank you guys for being here. This week's topic is going to be how to help your student when classes get challenging. We're getting into that middle part of the semester where it's going to get harder and harder to, for some students to bring their grades up. So we're going to give you some tips, tools, skills to put in your toolbox to help support your student through this time. And, we know things are different. So, we want to make sure that we're providing these resources for you so you can even have a better idea even how to navigate it, because you've never navigated through this time being in a pandemic and being home and being virtual and all those things. So this presentation will be up on YouTube. Obviously, you're watching it on YouTube. We want to thank you again for joining us. The links, the resources, the PowerPoint will be made available to you guys. So if if there's information you want to look back on, that'll be made available to you, so you can have that on hand. Again, our presenters are going to be myself, Mr. Doran, Ms. Castanon, and then Mrs. Gonzalez, our intervention counselor. And we'll be presenting the information. Our eSTEM administrators, Mrs. Howell, our dean, and then the STEM director, Dr. Law. Mr. Doran, my alpha is A through LI. Mrs. Castanon's alpha is LL through Z. And then our intervention counselor, Mrs. Gonzalez. So eventually when your students do come on campus, back on campus, they will recognize us because they'll know our faces. So just a quick agenda. I already kind of talked about the goals. That's giving you tips, tools, and skills to support your student. Today, well, the date's wrong on there, but it's supposed to be October 6th because today's October 6th, but how to help your student when classes get challenging. And then we'll have some takeaways and resources. And if there's any questions submitted, we'll answer those at the end of the presentation if they weren't answered during the presentation. And we're going to move on over to Mrs. Castanon.
All right, so thank you again for joining us. And as Mr. Doran mentioned, today we will go over how to support your student when classes get challenging. You guys may or may not know, but quarter grades will be coming up. And I know that sometimes those could be a good thing or not such a great thing for students. So we want to make sure we give you guys some information that may help you as you start receiving their quarter grades. So to begin, we'd like to share that we have found that many of our students that are struggling to navigate navigate the new learning environment, and some have become unmotivated. And before we can help them get their grades up, we need to help them improve their motivation and help them find why it's important for them to improve the grades. So on this next slide, you will see a motivational roadmap. The concept of this map shows you can take your challenges and channel them into positive motivation. First to better yourself, and then to turn outward and help others. Many students are confused and may not know how to deal with the challenges when facing difficult challenges in life. We often feel anger, fear, and frustration. While there's no magical wand to wish them away, the concept of this map may help you with providing tips and techniques you can use when supporting your student through channeling and managing challenges. Throughout life, we will have challenges that we face, and you can see that you can compare them to a river. We can choose to channel the challenges that we face in a positive or in a negative direction. So when we talk about positive versus negative, we're looking at when energy emerges from challenges and emotions, we have choices. We can channel the challenges we face at home, at school, with peers in a positive direction in which we create solutions, or we channel our energy in a negative direction in which we end up in a flood zone. To avoid a flood zone, so like a river breaking from its course, using our energy in a negative way puts us in that flood zone. So we want to avoid using that negative direction. You know you're in the flood zone when you are hurting yourself or hurting others, when students have lost confidence in themselves, their energy has subsided, or they avoid making difficult decisions and choose the easiest problem to find a solution. The flood zone can take students away of opportunities and freedom, so it's important to help them avoid a flood zone and convert that anger or challenges into positive motivation. So in this map, you'll see flip the switch, where we can use our strengths to take us in a positive direction. When we see that, then we'll know that they flipped the switch. We help students flip the switch, and we can see how they can channel their strengths and abilities in a positive direction to reach their goals and their dreams. So at times, motivating your student can be a difficult situation. So these were just a few things to keep in mind to help them avoid flood zones, to help them move in a more positive direction, and just reminding them of their purpose and their why they're wanting to improve those grades. And at times when we work with students, that typically tends to help. We try to help them find the positivity in a situation, even when it's negative, and we definitely try to motivate them and speak positive, give them positive feedback.
And it would help if I unmute myself. So hello everyone, this is Mrs. Gonzalez. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, when you're looking at that map, what are some of the ways that we can help our kids when they maybe do get in the flood zone. So one of those is, let's say they're kind of out there and they don't know what to do. We can be a lifeline. So it is important that students realize that the parents and the caregivers are one of their lifelines. They will be reassured of this as you continually surrender the one-up relationship and show them that what they think is important. You demonstrate that you simply want to help them, but ultimately that they have control over their own lives. Positive self-talk is another one. As we go through the map, you'll see there's some dams that kind of help students keep going. And so one of them is positive self-talk. So no matter what your challenge is, what we tell ourselves about a problem often determines the impact that challenge will have on us. We can use our inner voice to direct our motivation, energy in a positive direction. Choosing to channel the energy in a positive direction allows us to focus only on things we can control. So examples, students don't have control over their graduation requirements, but they do control the amount of effort they put into passing their classes. Positive self-talk is a great way to help students reframe their negative thoughts into thoughts that are positive and encouraging. Then we see character and heart. Sometimes life gets tough and it's hard to understand why. I think we all kind of realize this going through a world pandemic right now. But relationships sometimes can be the greatest motivators when dealing with difficult challenges. One of students' biggest motivators is relationships. They will go through the motions and not give up, often out of respect for someone who cares about them, and that's usually you guys. Passion, another one is passion, interest, and purpose. If students don't think they have a passion, it may be that they just don't realize it or haven't discovered it yet. When students have identified their passion, interest, or purpose, it is important that they turn outward and share it with others. This will help other people develop that passion and help them connect with people who share the same passion and will become the motivation. I think about my students in theater and band and sports. They've found different passions that keep them going. Get plugged in. To stay motivated and overcome challenges, we need help from others. Developing a strong support system is vital, having that village. A support system can continually motivate us to apply our passion, to use positive self-talk, and to not give up, both out of respect for them and for ourselves, which is the dam of character and our heart.
Thank you, Mrs. Gonzalez, for sharing all that information. Now I'm going to kind of take us just through kind of some of the takeaways, right? That was a lot of information, a lot of things to kind of think about as well. The first thing I wanted to kind of talk about was being supportive and listening. And, I think there can be a tendency, especially when we see our students maybe not doing so well, we want to kind of just tell them, what they need to do. And, obviously you need to make sure that they're, stepping up and they're, being responsible and taking care of the work they need to get done, but also listening to the frustrations they might be experiencing, or listening and supporting them and letting them know that you are there, not just to, tell them what they're doing wrong, but to, hear them out and to kind of lift them up and be that support system. Also balance, right? Balance is going to be a huge thing. Making sure that they're taking breaks, that they're going outside if they're able to, that they're interacting with friends either online or through Zoom, something to kind of break up the monotony of schoolwork, but also to give their brain just a mental break from that. And obviously continue being a good example, right? Your students are going to see how you react to stressful situations, or you react to feeling overwhelmed. And so a great way to kind of help support them is to demonstrate, you know, how you want them to kind of accept challenges, right? To step up and take responsibility, and also to choose to make positive choices. Along those lines is checking in daily or weekly, or both, right? Check in daily, just see how they're doing. How was classes today? Weekly is like, okay, you know, I know we were a little bit behind. You know, what can we do in the next week to get us caught up? Or, you know, what are some steps we can take next week to do that, right? If you look at all of this, a lot of it's just going to be communication, parent involvement, parent engagement. So the more you're involved, and the more you create like a safe environment for your student to feel like they're being heard, right? Listening and supporting, the more, you know, the easier time they're going to have, and the less stress that we're going to put on top of them. They're already, you know, feeling, you know, stressed out from maybe what their grades are at, or even just not being able to be at school and to work with other students. So this little quote here: when you flip the switch, you stop for a moment, realize you can turn pain into power, and move forward committed to being resilient, right? So flipping that switch, going from maybe for your students, maybe it's, you know, not, you know, kind of feeling shut down, and, you know, giving them a second and giving them the support to stop, take a moment, and flip them like, hey, you know what? I have an opportunity to choose to be productive today. I have an opportunity to choose to work on my grades, and they can commit to being resilient. It's not going to be easy, right? Life isn't easy. Challenges aren't easy, but, you know, parents, us as being a support system can help kind of alleviate and kind of bear some of that burden that the students are feeling from all this work. So next we're going to move on to resources, and I'm going to kind of briefly go over these links and resources that we have, and then Mrs. Castan will kind of close us out in a second, going over the dates. But we've gone over a lot of these things, right? Usually we have an academic, college and career section. We have a mental health and wellness section. And then we also have kind of a both, right? So on the left, you have the academic, college, and career. The top portion is college, California colleges, major search, college search, career search. Those are all going to be helpful for your students. But mostly I want to kind of focus on the ones below. So we have the sample routine right here, traditional and virtual. The students can actually kind of build out, and you can actually work with your student to build out a routine for the day, routine for the week. Okay, this is when you're going to work on this class. This is when you make up this class. This is when the office hours for your teacher are, right? To get them some extra help. Here's a link for Edgenuity guided notes without printing. So they can go through and they can fill in notes and kind of be interactive with Edgenuity. Any grade issues, a notebook planner. If you're having internet issues, like here's some internet resources. Google platform support. So if you're running into issues in Google Classroom or Google Docs, GoToTutor is free tutoring. So you can check that out. You can fill out the form, and you can submit a request, and you can get that scheduled. And then we have free math tutoring down at the bottom. On the right-hand side, we have the mental health and wellness, and this is all pretty much the same. A couple of different things. Just to reiterate, we have the intervention counseling website, the virtual call room. That's a great way to find some of that balance, right? Take some of those breaks. Care Solace, so we've talked about that before. That's the district is partnered and created this Care Solace to give families resources, to get them connected to the necessary resources and just more information. And we have helping children cope with changes resulting from COVID-19, supporting teenagers and young adults during the coronavirus, and the CNUSD meal program info and app. And then both Parent Connect counseling website and the eSTEM resource board. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. I also wanted to point out we have our SMORE or Calendly linked at the bottom right here. The Calendly link is actually, your students can make virtual appointments with me, and they can designate either phone or Zoom. And then Mrs. Castan and Mrs. Gonzalez both have the same thing, but theirs is going to take you to their actual newsletter. So they have a lot more information on there as well. And there's even more. So I'm not going to go through all of these. We've kind of talked about a lot of them. You can look through them, but a lot of it's like motivation, time management, self-management, right? Having great issues, check out these solutions, right? So there's a ton of information there. So go ahead and take a look there. And then I'm going to pass it on to Mrs. Castanon. She's going to talk about our upcoming meetings.
All right. So we've covered 3 sessions already, and as Mr. Dorian mentioned, we're halfway almost through our series of parenting during a pandemic. So we definitely thank you for being coming along this journey with us, and we have completed our session for today. Our next one is going to be striving for balance, and we'll have a few more after that. And on our next slide, you will find our contact information once again. Mr. Dorian and I send out messages through Remind quite a bit. So if you have not done so already, we definitely encourage you to join our Remind. Or if you have any additional questions regarding this presentation or anything going on with your student, needed a little bit more information on how to support your student, you're welcome to reach out to us. Our emails are here. And lastly, this time around, we did not have questions that were not answered in our session. So we, again, thank you all for joining today, and we hope to see you guys in our next session.